I was looking at the lifestyle medicine board and I feel there's a little bit of a turnoff for me. Like my cousin telling me to look into it, right? Talking about how we should change our diet, lifestyle, but it's actually a board certification in the medical field. Gives you some credentialing, right? And which is important, right? People like to see credentials, like MD. But the thing is, after looking into it, it turned me off because it said plant-based nutrition, right? I'm sure it's going to say plant-based nutrition is better, all this and stuff. And while I'm not saying that plant-based nutrition isn't good, I hate it when people use the term better, best, comparative terms, right? I've talked before about how you can't say something the best, like it just doesn't make any sense. Like best for who in what situation. Best is a very narrowly defined word, I feel, if used appropriately, because nothing is best, right? Is taller best? No. Taller people die sooner. If you're tall, good luck fitting economy seat on an airplane in the US, right? If you're tall, blah, 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 right? All these things that are bad for you. You may say people are thought more attractive, they be more commanding, blah, blah, blah. But that's a very narrow definition of best, because best means absolutely best, right? So if you have lots of caveats and qualify it, then you could use the term best in what I would say a logical way, but most of the time you can't use the term best. You can't even use the term better. Better than what, right? Better for who? There's people with mutations where they eat vegetables and they get sick. They can't process those foods. And they eat meat and they're fine, right? So saying plant-based is better for everybody, right, just means you're ignoring the fact that people are different. And the fact that people respond differently. And the fact that people have different goals in life, right? So while you may say things like if you don't eat meat, you will live longer, right? And say that's true for most people and true for this individual you're talking to, maybe the individual's point isn't to live longer, right? And when we talk about this in the hospital all the time to old people, are you sure you want to undergo all these procedures and suffer more and live longer, right? Maybe your goal is not to live longer, but to enjoy life while you have it, right? A lot of young people do extreme sports and crazy things, and you think that they want to die. No, they just want to live life to the fullest. And if you ask them, would you rather die young than to be an old, decrepit person not doing anything all day long, right? Or I would say practically put it to patients that I see, would you rather be old and lying in a bed and still alive 10 years from now? Or would you rather be active physically, be able to do stuff, go out and still enjoy life and maybe die sooner? I mean, I think most of them would say I would rather have the latter, right? I mean, it's only logical, right? Because if you lie in bed, it's safer. You can't fall, right? I mean, if they tie you up, even better, you can't fall. But you want to be tied up all day, fed through a tube, not doing anything? Is that living? And so that's why I don't like this idea of lifestyle medicine saying plant-based nutrition, all these things, right? What I think is they should talk about options, right? There are options out there that you could choose from. This one is studied in some people to be better, right? You can't say all people. No studies ever show improvement in all people when they're large studies, right? This doesn't work that way. There's nothing that's 100%. We're all different. I think the second thing is there should be more research on different things that work for different people. We all have exceptional people out there in the world. People who cannot get COVID, right? People who live with somebody who got really sick from COVID and somehow they're fine, right? But we don't know a lot about these people. We just say, oh yeah, they're the minority, they're the exception, right? Don't worry about them. You're like, okay, so how do I get to have a body like them? Is there a downside to having these gene mutations they have? In terms of food, right? Certain things make you feel better. Certain things make you live longer, right? Certain things make you feel good right now, but make you feel bad an hour later. Certain things make you feel bad right now, but make you feel good 5 hours later, right? It's all very, very complicated. And to base it, I would say to debase it, right? And say that this is better, that's just not science. That's just not medicine, right? Like, I know my colleagues will often say, you have this is the treatment, right? And I would say, I was talking to my wife this morning about this. She's like, you have to understand that, it's not absolute. But the thing is, patients don't understand it's not absolute, right? I mean, when it comes to really serious, important things, the cancer doctor will tell them, oh, I could offer you this treatment, but I can't guarantee it's going to work. In the studies, they have shown 80%, 70%, 60%, whatever, right? But they're not going to say this. Whereas in a hospital, When I work, many times people will say this, right? I think surgeons are more cautious when they talk about things like pain. They're not going to guarantee that they take this out, you're going to have less pain. They're in fact going to say, you're going to have more pain because I cut you open, right? Neurosurgeons don't operate on your spine because of pain. They absolutely do not. Because they cannot guarantee your pain will be less. That's the truth, right? They know that, they believe it. It's just the truth. They're not going to trick patients, right? They're not going to promise things they cannot deliver on. But unfortunately, in a hospital, many doctors, like medical school doctors, do promise things, right? Like a cardiologist, we'll get you to the cath lab, we'll put a stent in, you'll be better. That's not guaranteed. Sometimes bad outcomes happen, right? They may rupture that vessel and you die, right? We cannot say things are better. We can say things are better with a very particular, specified qualifications, but just saying better without qualifiers is just wrong. And that's what I don't like, right? There's different ways that work for different people. Plant-based is not the solution for everybody. That's just the truth, because people are not all the same, right? And more research needs to be done in getting people feedback. That is instantaneous, like the continuous glucose monitor. So you know what people's bodies are doing and reacting to. And you don't have to wait for a test months down the road, right? I mean, I had a lady who a few months ago did not have any cancer on her CT scan. And now she does, right? And her husband, who you would say they're from the countries that are more or less uneducated for our medical personnel, he's like, obviously it had to be there. And I said, you're right. It was there, we just couldn't see it with our technology. Many people say it wasn't there. No, it was there. It was fast growing. It was there already. We just cannot see it, right? And so we have a lot of limitations, and we need to improve on faster feedback for patients, feedback that we could look at visually, right? Because we're visual creatures nowadays, and adjust our behavior, adjust our medicines, adjust our treatment sooner rather than later. That's our hope for the best outcome.